Hi, everybody, and welcome back into Gamecock Central. He's Collyn Taylor. I'm Kendall Smith. This is another men's basketball mailbag here on GC, where you ask the questions and we answer them, or more so, Collyn answers the questions and I read the questions to Collyn. We're talking men's basketball today, and Collyn, they're coming off of a very exciting start to the season, something I think a lot of people didn't anticipate with this team.
Yeah, I certainly didn't necessarily anticipate it just because I figured they'd beat SC State, but Clemson's a tough challenge. They're an older team, have a bunch of guys who played a bunch of minutes, and South Carolina found a way. And the Lamont Paris era is starting off on the right foot, and now he's built up the goodwill with the program. Now it's just time to continue building on it, and got a tough slate of games coming up this week.
There's no better way to endear yourself to the South Carolina fan base than beating Clemson. Lamont Paris and the Gamecocks did just that on Friday. Final score 60-58. Chico Carter Jr. played hero in that game with a buzzer beater to give South Carolina that victory. They're now 2-0 on this season. So Collyn, we've got some questions from our Gamecock Central subscribers. They sent these in on the Insiders Forum. We're going to answer some of them. We're not going to get to all of them today, but I promise everybody watching, we will have more of these. You seem to like them, so we'll continue them throughout the season. But without any further ado, let's just get into it, kick it off. Our first question is from AJ and USC grad. I hope I'm saying all of these names right, by the way. But they asked, against Clemson, we had many opportunities to close in and missed a number of them, as well as not drawing fouls. Are there plans and strategies to improve this?
The plan is just to make them. At some point, the law of averages has to kick in. South Carolina's been pretty bad with layups, even dating back to the SC State game, and that just comes with experience. You're not a necessarily big team. Josh Gray's the guy that's kind of playing a lot of the five, but you have Gigi Jackson playing some in the front court, and he's 17, still trying to get adjusted to the game. Hayden Brown's not necessarily a big man, but he's playing down low. Daniel Hankin Sanford's a young guy. Benjamin Bosman's Verdonk is older, but just not the same level of big as you're going to see from some other teams. So it's a smaller team, and now it's just a matter of getting guys more comfortable finishing around the rim. You just rep it in practice. I mean, if there's a strategy to it, it's just run as many drills as possible to where you're getting looks at the rim, trying to finish through contact there. And you hope that as the season progresses, that the law of averages kind of gets better in your favor, because, yeah, they have missed quite a few, not easy looks, but makeable looks at the rim.
Well, yeah, you definitely hope that the law of averages kicks in there, because if it doesn't, it's going to be a long season, not just for you, but the entire fan base, Collyn. So hoping to improve that this weekend. South Carolina actually going to be in a tournament, which is a nice little segue into our next set of questions. I'm going to group a couple of questions together. So these are from West Ashley Gamecock and then Nismo 29630. West Ashley Gamecock wants to know what the chances for South Carolina looks like to go at least 2-1 in the tournament in Charleston this weekend. And then Nismo wants to know, how does Paris prepare for a tournament style where you're playing like every day versus a normal schedule where you're playing a couple times a week?
Yeah, the chances of going 2-1, they're tough because they open with Colorado State, who, while replacing a big piece in David Roddy from last year, is still, one of the better teams in the Mountain West, will contend for another NCAA tournament berth. One of the better shooting teams in the country right now. That's tough. And then you got to either play Davidson or Charleston, who are tough mid-major matchups as well. Davidson coming off a tournament appearance, same as Colorado State. And Charleston under year 2 of Pat Kelsey, and took number 1 North Carolina down to the wire. So that's tough. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have a good Furman team, a good Virginia Tech team, and Old Dominion and Penn State as well. So it can get tricky. So I think the chances of getting at least 1 win are good. 2 wins would be even better. I think 2 wins is a success down there. And I think they have a shot to do it, but my guess right now, as we sit here, Monday afternoon's probably 1, and anything over that, I think, is a really good strategy. And going through the week, it's the good news for South Carolina is you had all weekend and then the first part of this week to kind of build a game plan for Colorado State. When you get into these tournaments where it's, a game on, I think, Thursday, a game Friday, a break Saturday, and then a game Sunday, a lot of it's just falling back into your base principles, because you don't have a lot of time to tweak things. You don't have a lot of time to say, hey, listen, this team does this well, so let's tweak a set here. It's a lot of base packages that you just run constantly. And the big thing to do is just scouting. Teams, you have to be a really good scouting staff and understand and kind of figure out what teams do well and prepare players for that. But in terms of making sweeping tweaks and schematic adjustments, it's hard to do, and just comes down to playing your best and executing the base stuff you do really well, especially this early in the season where you're still trying to figure guys out.
Yeah, definitely a tough group of teams playing in Charleston this weekend. College of Charleston, led by Pat Kelsey. He had a great tenure at Winthrop. Then, of course, now at College of Charleston and continuing to make waves at a mid-major school. So it will be tough for South Carolina, but starting the season off 2-0, Collyn, that gives Gamecock fans a scary word that we like to call hope. And it makes them very excited about what the future could hold, what the season could hold for South Carolina. We got a question from Chris for USC. He wants to know, is this a tournament team, or is the talent not good enough yet to expect that?
I don't know if the talent's not good enough, but I don't think it's a tournament team yet. Most metrics still have South Carolina as a 500 basketball team. Ken Pom has them at 14 and 15. Now that doesn't build in the 2 extra games in Charleston. So depending on that, still right around 500 and 6 and 12 in the league. So Ken Pom had South Carolina beating South Carolina State, beating Clemson at home. So to a degree, from an analytics perspective, this was expected. South Carolina was maybe favored to be 2-0 to start the year. And this is kind of where they are right now. I would caution fans to understand that there are going to be growing pains. I would caution fans to understand that this team, even right now, most bracketologists, most analytics, most predictive metrics aren't going to have them in the tournament. And to understand that, yes, beating Clemson's great, starting 2-0 is great. There's still growing pains. It's still a group of 14, 15 guys playing a season under a coaching staff for the first time. And this coaching staff is still trying to figure everybody out. So there will be growing pains, but it's a great start. I don't know if I consider them a tournament team just yet.
And quite literally centered around a 17-year-old. I think people forget the fact that Gigi Jackson is only 17. His birthday is in December. He'll turn 18. Most other freshmen in college that are playing basketball are already 18, 19, some even 20 years old. So Gigi, very, very young. He has a lot of pressure on his shoulders to kind of be the core and the center of the team. So when you've got such a young guy who's expected to do that, there can be some growing pains, as you mentioned. Next question in relation to Gigi Jackson. It's from Kevin Chalk 50. He says, with Gigi's size, will we see more of him posting up on the low blocks? We have no post game right now, as Gray is simply not a scorer and Brown's size works against him on the low post. What do you think?
I think you've seen a little bit of it, but they're going to continue to put that athleticism, that size, that length out on the perimeter as well, and let him kind of play in space, which is what you want your 5-star freshman, big-time player, potential lottery pick guy to do. And will he play in the post? Yes, he's already doing some of that. But I think with Gigi, you let him play at the role he's been practicing at. You don't try to tweak it 2 games in. You let him kind of flourish in what you've been asking him to do. And then you just continue to try to bring guys like Josh Gray and Benjamin Bossmans for Donk along. And truly, I don't think we've seen a lot from BBV, who's going to be a big piece of this team's post presence. He obviously missed the first game with an ankle injury, had 4 fouls really early against Clemson. So him, staying healthy and B, avoiding foul trouble will be huge for South Carolina as my dog finds her ball.
Is Wrigley trying to get in the She's trying to get in the show.
Yeah, no, she is the star of everything, so she can't go 5 minutes without trying to pick up some sort of attention.
I love it. She needs to make her appearance eventually here on the mailbags. Next question, Collyn, about Josh Gray. I'm also gonna try to lump a couple of these questions together because we did get so many good ones. SW Virginia Cock, and then the other one was from Kinglaw. They want to know what you think about Josh Gray's potential growth this season, and Kinglaw more specifically wants to know if you anticipate Josh moving into the starting five.
I think of the guys that have played right now outside of Gigi, who's in his own kind of separate category in terms of growth and development because he is so young and he's so new to the college game. I would probably put Josh Gray as the guy I expect to make the biggest jump during the season. Talking with the assistants at Media Day, talking with even Josh himself at Media Day, the learning curve for the two bigs that were on the team beforehand, the Josh Grays, the TV Minots, it was steep. They were being asked to do a lot of things that the old staff wasn't asking them to do. And that's not good. That's not bad. That's just two staffs asking two different things. So I think that Josh is slowly starting to kind of get his feet under him in terms of what he's being asked to do. And he'll continue to develop. And when he's playing well, you kind of saw flashes of what he can be. I mean, Clemson, 10 rebounds, 5 on the offensive glass, 3 blocks, had a big 3-point play, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's going to take a step. How big? I'm not sure yet. I think he's going to be an impactful player. Right now, I'd probably keep him on the bench, keep him developing and learning in a role that he's maybe more comfortable with right now. I wouldn't rule it out, but right now he seems more comfortable coming off the bench and playing those 3 to 4 minute spurts and really helping the team out that way.
Right back to Gigi really quick. Just got an email notification as we were talking about it. Gigi Jackson was named the SEC Freshman of the Week. So big things for Gigi, and literally just got that email as we were talking. A few more questions here, Collyn, just before we finish off here. Want to talk a little bit about Michi. This one is from Gamecocks Our Joy. They want to know, with the team needing a solid point guard behind Michi, who do you see developing into that role quickly?
Yeah, it's Jacoby Wright. He came into the season as your number 2 point guard, kind of not a swing guard, but could play off the ball if needed, if you wanted him and Michi out there together. It's Jacoby Wright. He's been, I expected him to take a leap this year, but he's been a pleasant surprise for South Carolina to start the year. Back-to-back games in double figures for the first time in his entire career. Shooting 5 of 7 from 3. He's just played really, really well. And I think he's one of the best on the team right now in terms of plus minus. So he's your backup point guard. South Carolina's going to ask him to run this offense if Michi's not in the game. And sometimes even if Michi's in the game, but he's been really good so far. And he ranks 118th nationally among every single player in the country, thousands of players. He ranks in the top 120 in offensive rating. He ranks in the top 160 in effective field goal percentage, top 400 in assist rate. He doesn't commit many fouls. So he's been a really pleasant surprise, and I think he's going to be the guy like we expected him to be, where he's your backup point guard.
Well, South Carolina is going to need all hands on deck if they want to exceed those expectations set at the beginning of the season. South Carolina, they were not picked to finish very high in the SEC, to put it lightly. So to finish off here, we had a couple of questions just about expectations for South Carolina from another Gamecock fan and Wexler. They want to know the possibility of 8-8 in SEC play. And then just what do you think realistic expectations are for this team, Collyn?
I'll start with this. Realistic expectations is probably around 500. Contending for an NIT spot at the end of the year is realistic expectations. I think that with this roster, with the growing pains you'll have at times, with centering around a 17-year-old, realistically, given all the predictive metrics, is 500. And if you can make some sort of postseason, that's pretty good. The NCAA tournament's, I mean, a resounding success in Lamont Paris's first year, if he gets there. So that's more than likely realistic expectations. 8-8, probably 9-9, given that there are 18 SEC games. That's going to be tough, and it's less about South Carolina. That yes, South Carolina's from a talent perspective maybe not top to bottom as good as some of these other teams, but the SEC is so doggone good this year. Kentucky is national title good. Arkansas is national title good. Tennessee lost this past weekend, but has a chance if things break right to be national title good. Alabama Sweet 16, Elite 8 good. Auburn's coming off the regular season title and a 2 seed in the tournament. Florida has a chance to be good. Texas A&M has a chance to be good. These are teams that, I mean, it's top to bottom one of the best teams conferences in the league. It's rated by KenPom as the second best behind just the Big 12. So it's going to be tough regardless of what happens. It'll be tough for South Carolina to get to 500. And do I think they can? Yeah, if things break correctly, I think they could. But my guess right now is probably in that 5, 6, 7 SEC win range. And if you exceed expectations, it is probably getting to 500.
Well, a big test for South Carolina this weekend in Charleston. Collyn, thank you so much for your insight as always. I enjoy the men's basketball mailbags. I like kind of switching it up. I do mostly football for Gamecock Central, but I'm hoping to be out there a little bit more for basketball this year as football starts to wrap up. I don't know if Collyn wants to deal with having me around basketball.
I could be mean, but I'm going to choose not to, considering how mean I get to be to you on our road trips and in the press box and things like that.
Yeah, if you haven't seen our behind the scenes blogs, I don't even put half of it in there. But between Michael Sauls and Collyn Taylor, I take a beating every single weekend. It's okay, though. We're moving on to men's basketball. Maybe Collyn will be nicer when he's doing men's basketball. But appreciate it as always. Really enjoyed this. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions. Again, so sorry we didn't get to all of them, but I promise we will continue to do more of these as the season continues. Keep up with everything Gamecocks over on GamecockCentral.com, including men's basketball, football, women's basketball, baseball. We've got it all for you. You can also follow us on social media at Gamecock Central. He's Collyn Taylor. I'm Kendall Smith. This has been a men's basketball mailbag here on Gamecock Central, and we will see you all soon. Have a great day.